Good morning, Orod.
Hey Soma, good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. It's been ages, I think. We haven't recorded for a few weeks. How's everything in Sydney?
Sydney is getting warmer, which is always good. And I have heard that Melbourne's weather is also very good this week.
Yeah, this week it was amazing, but apparently it's gonna rain today.
Oh, well, you did have a good week, like of weather, so I hope, the rain also goes away faster.
Yeah, no, rain is good as long as it's not too cold and windy, I'm
Yeah,
okay with it.
well, that's great.
All right. Anyway, so what is the topic for today?
Well, this is a topic. So someone asked me recently, I've heard that, people were talking about that, okay, Kanban has no estimation. So does that mean that we can't create roadmaps
Mm.
if we are practicing Kanban? What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, so um, it has, I think, two parts. So Kanban has no estimation, and therefore we can't create roadmap. Basically, Kanban never said do estimate the job or don't estimate it. If I think we talked about this in previous episode. If estimation works for people and they estimated how they want to estimate or how they did estimate, if it works, continue doing it,
Mm,
fine.
mm,
But because Kanban has, lean background, so always suggest don't do anything that you don't have to do. So
mm,
if you're doing estimation and if it doesn't work for you,
mm,
or didn't work for you, then maybe stop doing it and don't, rather than waste your time, maybe spend time where it has more value.
mm,
Uh, but if you don't want to estimate, or if you've done estimation and didn't work, so Kanban has a solution. So you can be still predictable without, spending too much and estimate the work,
mm,
which we talk about it in one of the episode properly. We explain, what is the lead time distribution chart and all those kind of things. So
yeah.
maybe people can go and listen or watch that episode.
Mm,
So back to your question, Kanban has no estimation. We can't do roadmap. So it's a myth because you can create roadmap, you can plan based on your historical data. So look at
yes.
your, histogram and see how did you go before,
Mm,
how long did it take to work on your user story or task, and based on that, you can create a roadmap and plan based on that.
yeah. I agree. And this is interesting, right? Like we do talk about roadmaps a lot in
Mm,
organizing teams, but we never talk about that the roadmap needs to be aligned with the product or service strategy.
mm-hmm,
So whenever we think about strategy, the strategy is created because for a reason, like there has to be a context which gets the customer in the center of it.
sure.
Whenever we are thinking of a product or a service, we need a customer as well because the customer will have a problem or a request, and through that service or the product, the problem will be solved or the request will be met.
Mm-hmm,
So, whenever any organization is creating that strategy, so the strategy will have all those things like, the large vision and the ambition
mm-hmm,
and the roadmap, when we think about it, is the detailed, like, actionable plan that
mm-hmm.
is originating based on the strategy. So when we are thinking of the roadmap, so there are also other things
Are you
that need,
talking about an ideal world, right? Because in
yes.
most organizations, they don't have a strategy. They just say, okay, do it
Well,
because I think it's good to do
I,
it.
I would I would argue with that because there the strategy exists.
Mm,
It's just how do we connect it back to that. But I think most of the time we do mistake the roadmap with, like the task that
mm,
needs to be done. So this is where I was coming from, that whenever there is a roadmap being created anywhere,
mm-hmm,
all like a lot of things will be taken into consideration. For example, when if we release this, when can it get us the maximum benefit?
Mm-hmm.
Taking into consideration the business and the customer's perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So there comes the SLA as well, the
Sure.
expectations, right? So I would say why I'm going to connect it back to the estimation. Like
Mm-hmm.
estimation is mostly when can we deliver? It has nothing to do with that when will it be more beneficial. So can't
Can I interrupt you? Because sometimes organization use estimation to understand, do we want to invest on this or we don't
that
want,
is
maybe it's too big, we don't want to do it.
yeah, exactly. But again, it is taking into consideration one aspect of it. But what I'm trying to say is that Kanban can help you to also have that understanding of that expectation that when this thing needs to be out there in the market so that it can fetch you the maximum benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So the key is here is to talk to your stakeholder and your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Like there will be SLAs, there will be expectation, and then what you just mentioned, right? Like the lead time. It's the historical data that is giving you when can this kind of work be delivered based on your capability within the team, based on all the different factors
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be considered.
Mm-hmm.
So roadmap on its own doesn't give you the whole picture, but when you start putting all these things into perspective, Kanban can help you with all the different tools and practices, which will help you to even make better decisions. So, again, what you said, I'm just going to amplify that. It is a myth. So, in Kanban, definite, people can create even better roadmap, taking the data into consideration as well.
Yeah, so back to, your question. Um, People think that, Kanban prescribe or
Yeah.
suggest not to estimate. And I just want to again highlight that Kanban never said that you
Mm.
estimate or don't estimate.
Yeah.
You can estimate how you want to estimate. It's up to you, whatever works for you. But if it doesn't, if you've done it and if it didn't work, then you can look at your lead time, basically how long did you spend on previous, task or user story or epic or project or whatever you want to call it. And
Mm.
based on that, you have enough understanding and a good insight about, how long probably will take in the future. And based on that, they can create their own roadmap based on the strategy and the customer expectation and also the release cycle. Because, if you don't continuously release and deploy to production, then you probably need to plan to be aligned with your release cycle and understand when these things will be ready so that they target the right release.
Do you have any real life experience with this that you can share? That anyone who was, doing?
So, in one of the client that I worked with a few years ago, and I, design a proper Kanban system because I think in a separate episode, actually, I had a very good conversation with one of the senior manager recently.
Mm,
Most organizations uh, don't even know what Kanban is, right?
mm,
So I'm
mm,
not gonna spoil because it's a very interesting conversation I had.
mm,
Uh, so based on my experience, most organizations don't even do the proper Kanban. So mostly they do Scrum, they get a little bit of this and that from Kanban. But in one client, which I had this opportunity to spend a few years, so we designed a really good Kanban system.
mm,
And in that client, uh, I pull out all the data,
mm,
create a proper lead time distribution chart,
mm,
and based on that, we quarterly planned. They had quarterly release to the customer, and we
mm,
quarterly plans, and we work on multiple different feature. And we plan kind of a roadmap, but a shorter version, not a very long term like roadmap for next 5 years or so, but a roadmap for next quarter or maybe
Mm,
6 months, something like that. Um, in the episode that I show and talk about the lead time distribution chart, those charts they are actually the data that I pulled down, and we planned based on those lead time distribution chart and histogram diagram. But another thing, it's I always people always ask. People like to estimate,
yeah.
and I never push them not to estimate. So I always say, okay, estimate how you want to estimate, just estimate, do it, right? But what I did, especially initially, because at the beginning, people didn't trust, right? They still wanted to do estimation. So I
Mm,
said, okay, you estimate your work based on that. But I also showed them the historical data, and I said, your estimation is always wrong. It's been always wrong. But this is the actual time that you spent, right?
mm,
Because they broke the feature into some user story, right?
mm,
It's like, this is how you deliver before how much you actually spend. So in 1 quarter, I told them that you estimate and you create your roadmap, whatever, based on the story point that you always done. Behind the scene,
mm,
I track and monitor how you go because I have a hypothesis based on what you've done before, right?
mm,
So at the end of that quarter, I show them. I say, okay, this is your plan. This is my plan, right? I've done it behind the scene to just prove my hypothesis because, I might be wrong as well, right? So I told them that my estimation, right, or no estimation, was more accurate than, how you plan it. So next quarter, let's try my idea and see how you go. If it doesn't work, if you don't like it, that's fine. I
mm,
still ask them to still do high level estimation because I think high level estimation, it helps
mm.
to have some understanding. If it's too big, maybe we can break it, or maybe, we work on some easy things first and then spend a little bit later on the big work. So
Yeah,
I think high level estimation, it's not too bad based on my experience, as long as we don't spend too much on that. And also be mindful that this is estimation. It's never been accurate,
exactly.
right? And don't plan and don't think that this is a absolutely correct estimation and we have to, plan exactly based on that. And if someone said finished by Monday, it will be definitely finished by Monday. And if it not, then we go and interrogate the person.
That is amazing, Aura. This is really good example and the power of data, right? So at the moment, I'm helping a team to do static
Mm-hmm.
and particularly like I mean specifically the demand analysis because
Mm,
whenever we think of all this, roadmap estimation, one thing that we really do not think of is that what kind of demand comes through your system? Who are your customers?
mm,
What kind of SLAs and expectations can you set with them? And this is really important, like even before thinking about like planning ahead.
mm,
In order to plan ahead, you really need to understand these details, this context. And estimation, like you, I think it's really valuable because it's not about the number that comes out of it, but the conversation that happens whenever you have an estimation session. It's always about understanding the problem and coming on the same page, like getting on the same page as a team that, okay, this is the problem we are solving. Most of the time in estimation sessions, no one is talking about the solution in details, and that is what it is about, right?
mm-hmm.
So it's the understanding the complexity, the
Yeah.
unknown.
Understand the
The
problem, not the solution.
Yes, and that is really valuable when you think about it, because this is what I try to tell, the people that I coach and mentor. Our customer doesn't care about the story points that's actually up there.
Mm,
So whether it's a 5 or a 13 or like 21, no one cares. What they care about is that when the value will be delivered, when their problem will be solved. So that lies when you understand the context
mm.
properly. So that will start happening when you also understand your customer and the kind of demand and their frequency
Yeah.
that comes through your system.
Exactly. We do estimation, roadmap planning, those kind of thing to have some predictability and
Yeah.
back to the customer and stakeholders and say, okay, this feature will be ready by that time, something like that. So give them some sort of, visibility and predictability.
Yes.
Um, but sometimes, especially in knowledge work, we spend a little bit too much to
Mm,
estimate. However, I can see that in many organizations, they realize spending too much on estimation, it doesn't necessarily help. So rather than spend too much to have accurate estimation and
mm,
have a detailed plan, maybe we need to do high level estimation, spend more time to understand the problem,
mm,
and even better to understand and work on different options that you have. And gradually, I don't want to talk about design thinking and blah, blah, blah. But before you start, you commit to the work and back to the customer and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
mm,
Would be, good to work on different option you have and find something more feasible, more achievable, a little bit more
mm,
realistic, you know. And also always look at what these teams delivered before, how long they spent, because
mm.
what happened before will happen in the future and there will be no magic.
That's a very good advice, I would say. Really a gold nugget right there. So a bit of design thinking maybe can be implemented, right? Like it's no magic. So I would say in future we should be doing a session on that, like how design thinking can be applied in Kanban.
In
It's an
Kanban,
idea.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
definitely they are aligned, but yeah.
of course. Yeah. It's
Or maybe how we can combine Kanban with design thinking. Yeah, I think that's a good topic.
also like Kanban and product agility. So I love all this, but I believe
Yeah,
that
I
we
can
have
see that you getting into products.
just my passion, baby. Or what can I say?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I never liked product, but anyway.
Let me say
Not,
this.
I'm not saying I never liked it, but not my passion. I think I
Yeah,
prefer to work with people than
yeah. But
product.
product is about people. But
It's
let's
about people, yeah.
yes, it is. But what I was about to say is that we did answer to this question and
Yep.
also, like clarify that we can prepare roadmaps in Kanban. There is no restriction. And I loved your advice that there is also no restriction on estimation.
Mm.
Use it in the right way. It will always help people.
Exactly. The biggest things I learned from Kanban is not to push people to do anything.
I agree.
I think this is the biggest things I learned.
Yes.
And give flexibility to people, let them to make mistakes, but show them that you made the mistakes, right? And then next time, don't make the same mistake again.
Yes. Make different ones.
Yeah. All right. Good.
Well, okay, we are at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So, Orod, if you have to summarize into bullet points the key takeaway, what it would be.
So we talk about Kanban has no estimation, so we can't do roadmap, and we talk that this is a myth because in Kanban you can estimate if it works for you, continue doing it. If it doesn't, then Kanban has some mechanism that can help you to be predictable without estimation. And also, you mentioned that the roadmap should be aligned with the organizational strategy and also always plan around the customer demand. And we also talk a little bit about, different types of estimation and stuff like that. So, yeah, if estimation works for you, do it. Uh, High level estimation, we said that it probably would be beneficial as long as we understand that this is very high level and
Mm,
just gives us a little bit understanding about do we want to go with this feature or not, and if it's too big maybe we can break it,
mm,
but it's not a precise and absolutely correct estimation.
mm. And also to add to that, track your data and your history because they will tell you when
Hmm.
can you actually deliver those values to your customer. So lead time is key.
Hmm.
And maybe in future, we will bring you more episode about product agility and Kanban and design thinking and Kanban.
Absolutely. All right. Good.
Great.
Thanks, Soma. And thanks
Thank
everyone for watching and listening.
thank you. Thank you, everyone.